question. Would you ever consider just putting out a movie of like 5 or 6 open-ended questions to John Peters and just letting him go?
Well, actually, you know, we've been asked before if we would do a John Peters documentary. Like,
We haven't said no.
we've not said no. And I
I'm just
think,
gonna look at all those movies. It would be fun to do something.
yeah, he's a fascinating.
I want to get your thought on something. We'll probably never see Nick Cage as a live action Superman, but I think WB their animation house should call him up and say, listen, we have an animated film in the works. You should come in as the voice of Superman.
You know
what do you guys think about
that? That's a good
that?
way of phrasing it, because a lot of people ask, you know, us like, hey, would it work to make Superman Lives as an animated film because Nick Cage could just do the character animated? And I always say no, you can't make Superman Lives. That's from 16 years ago. It wouldn't be the same thing. They never finished the script. Tim Burton wouldn't be directing it. It's like, but yeah, you know, if they made some other thing like Superman Chaos Rules or Superman Triumphant or whatever, if they made something that was like in the vein of this, maybe have Tim Burton produce it, do something. It just wouldn't be the same. But I wouldn't mind, you know, trying to get Nick Cage's take on Superman, because as you guys all know now, what his take was very unique and cool. I don't think it'll happen.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit more about that too. From what we've heard from people that were very close to the project, once this film tanked, it broke Nicolas Cage's heart and deeply. So because this was going to be the role of a lifetime for him.
Right.
So the fact that he didn't get to play this role, that's part of the reason I think he wouldn't talk to us, to be honest. And I don't think that he would ever want to revisit that. One of the things we heard from the get-go from his manager was Nick doesn't like to talk about the past. And I think part of it is the fact that he never got to play the role that he wanted to play, which was Superman. He ended up playing Ghost Rider later on because he was a big fan of comic books and he wanted to play a comic book character at some point. Obviously those films weren't great, but I really do think that, and this is me completely, you know, projecting, but I think that that was kind of a salve, you know what I mean? I think that that was a salve that was like,
Right.
I get a comic book character, but it's not Superman. But I don't think he'll ever do it. I don't think he'll ever do it. Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi. I was wondering if you could kind of reflect on making a film from a journalistic perspective, especially being a director coming from making, a lot of fiction and stuff like that.
Yeah, well, for me, originally I wrote out an Act 1, Act 2, Act 3, and it totally evolved. I mean, the ending, we knew what happened. I knew there was going to be some kind of middle, hopefully talking to the artist, but the whole beginning part changed completely. And it was just an organic process. I'd never tried to, really stick to anything that I had thought out, because making this documentary was like just an amorphous thing. And every time we added someone, something else went away. We added, took away, took back. It was like molding this sculpture, taking away until the sculpture was there. In fact, we didn't get John Peters until the month before our premiere, so we had to take the entire film apart and put it all together. So for myself, like directing cartoon shows or directing live action shows or directing my own shorts for 15 years now, doing this documentary was a challenge to myself, but it was something I wanted to do anyway because I had grown bored making cartoons. I wanted to do something different. I knew I wanted to get into making feature films, but this was just like a fun thing to turn into like a hell of a lot of work. It was 2.5 years, but I mean, I really enjoyed it. In fact, so much so that we'll probably end up doing some more documentaries, but like using this process of organically kind of like letting it happen was really fun for me, creatively fulfilling.
John Schmidt, let it happen.
Let it happen. What about you?
I don't know. What was I'm sorry. What was the question?
Just like, as far as like putting it together.
Yeah, actually, we had so many different films that it was like it's hard to even backtrack and remember the different cuts that we had, because once we actually got John Peters and started tracking, like lacing him through the film, I think that that was when it started to really feel like a complete movie. Because at that time, what happened with John Peters, by the way, too, is the fact that when we didn't get him right away. It took a while to get him, and once we did get him, he wanted the questions in advance, which actually worked really good for us because we sent him the questions in advance, and then we were able to write down all the questions that we still had kind of holes for. So once we had those, he was answering those questions, it dovetailed so nicely that we certainly didn't expect the responses. All we had were the questions, But once those questions got answered by him, it was just like me and Marie and John were like, okay, this is taking a whole new shape, and it felt like a complete film.
Yeah, it still took a lot of work. Some of it was like just smooth as butter, like the 3 questions things just fucking work. And then some of the other things were like, oh, how are we gonna get that taste of the blood in the mouth? Where does that go?
And also, yeah,
Has he or Tim Burton seen the finished product?
Tim Burton has seen it.
Commented on it?
Yeah.
What's his
Tim Burton has seen the film, and from what Derek Fry says is that it was a catharsis for him. And he actually, one of the things that Derek said to me, he said, because I kept asking him, I was kind of relentless. I was like, has Tim seen it? Has Tim seen it? He said, I'll tell you this much, Molly, because we wanted him to come to the screening in London that we did and all this stuff. He said, I don't, he was very nice and gracious. He said, he might, but he might not. I'll tell you this much, he will watch the film. But what he's probably going to do is he's going to watch it alone. When he gets the Blu-ray, he's going to watch it by himself, and he might cry. He might have like an emotional experience. And so what I heard from Derek is that he loved it, and it was like a catharsis for him. And he appreciated that we actually explored that whole aspect of development hell that he's been through so many times. So.
And John Peters called me twice. The first time he hadn't seen the movie yet, but he called me to let me know that he enjoyed doing the interview, and some of his friends said that he came off really good, and he looked good.
His hair looked good.
So I was like, I was really happy that he enjoyed the process. Then he called me later after Holly had dropped off the Blu-ray for him to check out. He saw it, and then and he said, he really enjoyed the film, but he wanted to know why that guy who barely worked on it was on the cover of the Blu-ray, which is Kevin Smith. And I told him, I was like, look, it's because Kevin Smith is really well known, and we already had that art done, otherwise you would have been the giant creature floating around. I would put you in. But we made a variant cover with him choking me out.
Yeah.
So.
Oh, that's a good story too. Well, yeah.
Yeah, tell this choke out.
Okay, so at the end of the interview, it was clear John Peters was having a great time with the interview, and John, their names are spelled the same. So they were geeking out about MMA wrestling.
Yeah, some fighting shit.
Yeah, some fighting shit. And at the very end of the interview, I said, Mr. Peters, you feel free to say no if you want, but would you put John in a headlock? And he's like, first of all, he's like, it's a sleeper hold. And then he's like, yeah.
So he did, and then she didn't get the picture.
No, you always say that, but that's not what happened. I was actually fixing Peter's microphone because it was in the way, and I couldn't actually because Carl King was filming.
I didn't know what was happening because I was getting choked out.
Carl King, our cinematographer, was filming it, and I couldn't get around to the front to take a still photo. So
anyway, that guy is 70 years old. He's
Twice
super
he
strong.
choked
So
him
she's like, I'm sorry I didn't take the photo. I was like,
by the way,
what are
that
you
is on our
talking about?
Blu-ray. By the way,
That's on the choke out's on the Blu-ray.
Oh,
What about
that's
the
awesome.
bumper?
What's that?
What about the bumper?
Oh, the fenders. Yeah, no. Okay, so yeah, Rob Pierce, our executive producer, is asked about the bumpers, the fenders. So, are you talking about the fucking him bashing in? Yeah. So one of the stories that Peters told us was that when he was a teenager, he used to fucking fight his fender, like break his knuckles on his own car in order to build up his fucking meat hands.
Yeah, he's a strong dude. I'm not kidding. Like he's a black belt.
If you watch the
Practices
movie again,
every day.
check out his fucking hands.
Yeah.
And still do hair.
And yeah, no, he's a master
He's
hairdresser.
romantic, as I said.
And he's a fighter. All right, we